I've made other videos about this, but Lucifer Star, what happened was it was somewhere, I think in China or Japan or somewhere, but I had this mine and pumping out water was always a big problem for me. When you dig down deep, you always encounter water at a certain point. Anyway, they were pumping the water out and they were using it for irrigation, and for some reason, the plants seemed to just grow really well. And I was like, "Huh, that's strange." And other people were like, "Wow, cool." And I was like, "No, let's look into this. I want to know what's different about that water." Because it was somewhere in Japan or somewhere they're irrigating the fields, and from this water that was just being pumped out of one of my mining things, and I was like, we need to find out what's wrong, what was different about that water, and other people were like, yeah, it's just water, whatever, But I was like, no, there's got to be something different about the water or the soil, but there's got to be a reason why those plants are more green and more luscious than normal, and it's coming from my mine. So anyway, so they started sampling the water, and they actually exported some of the mine water to other farms. And what they found is that it was nitrogen rich water. The rock in the mine had a lot of nitrogen in it. So I was like, well, maybe we can do artificial nitrogen or something like that. Anyway, so the scientists started working on it, and basically, one thing led to another, and pretty much we started mass producing nitrogen fertilizer, or nitrogen rich fertilizer, basically. Anyway, there's a lot of science and a lot of other stuff involved, but to the layman, that's basically what happened. I mean, and there's other stuff with the bat guano and stuff like that too, which also has other nitrogen. The bat guano also had nitrogen in it and stuff like that. But anyway, and we were working on like somehow making mass-produced nitrogen fertilizer, basically. Um, anyway, it's basically the basis for like Miracle-Gro and a lot of these other plant things. It has a high nitrogen content in the soil. Um, Ammonium nitrate basically is a refined version, a pure version of basically nitrogen, pretty much. So pretty much with every fertilizer bag, we'd add in a certain amount of ammonium or nitrate or whatever, nitrogen basically. I don't know if we add the ammonium in there, but anyway, it's all complicated and a lot of science. But basically, another thing that the Auschwitz camps or the high research camps produced was basically better fertilizer. And we were actually doing it way, way long ago, kind of a little bit, and then more so current days. Anyway, that's how Lucifer Star me basically changed the farming world by fertilizer. And that's why I actually own, or White Star Lines, Lucifer White Star Lines own the world's largest producer of fertilizer. For one thing, we were also the ones that they were able to get to the bat guano, but also just being able to mine it out of the ground, and refine it, or get nitrogen out of the air. Basically, it's a process anyway, and there's nitrogen mines and all that other stuff, and that was something that was going on in 1950s, and and that's basically why a lot of people, that's why it was so hotly contested, the whole Lucifer White Star Line company, mining and shipping company, was contested because basically it's money and food for everyone, and in large quantities. It's not that hard. There's 5 or 6 places probably producing nitrogen, ammonium nitrate, basically. Once we had the science down, it wasn't all that hard to mass produce like crazy. It's the same kind of rocket fuel basically that goes into the space shuttle, I think, or something like that. It's the basis of it, or something like that. Anyway, Germany basically, and Japan, or China. Anyway, basically the scientists, pretty much of the world, making the world a better place. That's all stuff that it was my nitrogen mine, or my mine that had the nitrogen rich water. So anyway, though, it's all complicated and gets all silly and ridiculous as Nixon and basically Jimmy Carter and other people want. They basically wanted, they wanted my companies. So because it's basically the world largest producer of fertilizer company. Anyway, they used to ship the fertilizer in white bags and stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, well, anyway, it's my past history, and it's why they want to put all this stuff as national security and top secret, because basically they were trying to steal it. They wanted the money, they wanted the farming, they wanted the credit for the ammonium nitrate. But I was the one who was like who hounded my scientists on there has to be something different about that water. And so and I think I had them look at the mine too. So right off the bat, they knew that the mine had nitrogen rich nitrogen whatever. Anyway, it's all complicated with minerals and rocks and stuff like that, and they could tell from the mine because there's a lot of nitrogen in that mine. So, in fact, I think it was a problem or something like that. Anyway, nitrogen is fairly explosive or something like that. I don't really know that much about it anymore. It's my past, and basically they at some point in time they wanted to torture me and kill me and make me sign over everything I owned, because I was that person that had vision and foresight and changed the world in so many ways. Not just with the nitrogen mine, but also aircraft and also travel destinations being something profitable as well as useful and all that. And also things like getting the world to talk together, to work together through multimedia and cell phones and everything else. And there are probably like 5 million or 5,000 of these large groups that are now running around the world, doing stuff, all because, I saw certain things as a necessity. Things like computers, things like cell phones, things like cameras, things like transportation, roads, trains. I always had the vision, and I never sold my whole shipping company. I sold my old ships, yes, but I never sold the shipping companies themselves. We were always building new ships. So, anyway, I just sold the old ones once they're past their prime. Same thing I would do with the cars. But anyway, whatever. It's all complicated and stuff like that. But that's how like White Star Lines ended up owning the what's it called, the Carnival Cruise Lines, basically. And that happened when basically I think White Star Lines and the Lusitania company, or at least 3 of my large shipping companies, basically merged because I owned them. So I just merged them all together basically into 2 or 1 big conglomerate or something like that. Anyway, it gets all complicated and everything else, but that's why basically they wanted me dead, and they wanted to basically claim me as dead. Lucifer White Star Line, or Lucifer Star, really. Me. Anyway, the White Star Line was my white ships and my white aircraft, my white stuff. So anyway, and the White House was included in that. And of course, Nixon, JFK, Jimmy Carter, all of them wanted that house. They wanted the company. So anyway, that's basically what happened, pretty much. But it gets more complicated than that when I'm the creator of the stars and galaxies. And where exactly when that happened, I can't exactly tell you. I mean, I could tell you that I had been in existence for billions of years, but like I said, Nixon, like they wanted everything, and they wanted and they did kill and rape with impunity. Nobody stood up to them. Their guards, like I said, it became a problem for the Secret Service as the president was raping young 16-year-old girls or demanding sex. And one Secret Service agent just had enough. He couldn't take it anymore. Anyway, or something like that. I don't really know. And there was a fight or something like that. Anyway, I'm not sure exactly. But basically, the Secret Service used to roam around in like 4 or 6 cars, high performance cars, like that. Basically, like they were pretty much the king of the world or something. They would just go from house to house, taking money and and having sex with the young girls. And like 8 cars, all with 8 guys apiece, with machine guns, and they would wait outside while the president did whatever he wanted. And this president was probably Jimmy Carter or JFK or someone. I don't really know. Anyway, it's amazing it ever actually came out. But anyway, I mean, plus listening to girls scream for help inside the White House from the extension house. And it's all really bad.